Hello, everyone. Welcome to In Full View, focusing on trans masks in media, the podcast, where we shine a light on the lack of trans masculine representation in entertainment. We're your hosts, Avi Roque.
And Yas Kasiri.
And today we have a very special holiday episode. We'll be talking about trans representation in holiday media, community care, and the power of giving. Because for so many in our community, this season can be both joyful and complicated. To help us start this conversation, we're joined by Mars, who has been part of Transanta for the past 4 seasons, helping make the holidays brighter for trans youth across the country. Mars is a true multi-hyphenate, an artist, musician, and community builder whose work spans from the queer punk band Inako to contributing a piece in Black Punk Now, volunteering with Rise Burroughs' Friendly Visitor Program, and even writing for the indie game Wrestling with Emotions, New Kid on the Block. I kind of want to know more about that, but maybe we'll get to that later. But Mars, thank you so much for joining us. We always like to start off by just giving you an opportunity to kind of speak a little bit about yourself for listeners who may not know you obviously yet. We're just getting to know you. But please share with us who you are and what you do.
Okay, yes, I do so many things, sort of in true Gemini fashion. I
Wait a
am
second. You're
currently
a Gemini?
I'm a
You're
Gemini,
a
yeah.
Gemini? I'm a Gemini. Yeah. Okay,
High five.
sorry. Go ahead.
That's good. I
Um,
love Gemini.
sweet. I don't hear that often about Geminis, so that's nice.
It's definitely like love hate. I'm a
Yeah.
Pisces, so I feel like there's something like it's Gemini a water sign. Is it?
We're air.
Okay, I don't know. Well, this isn't an astrology podcast,
Wow, we
so.
already got off topic.
Whoops.
That's okay. All
Um,
right, go ahead, Mars.
yeah, I am fully immersed in so many different projects and pathways. I'm currently at a pet sit. You can see a dog leash behind me. So I have my own pet sitting business. I also have like a full-time tech job. I also am a musician and I'm a ceramicist. I am a model. I work at Transanta every year. There's just so many things.
I believe it. We kind of have to do a lot sometimes. It feels like that's a little bit of, I know Yas and I feel the same way of just kind of wearing many hats.
Yeah, surviving while pursuing your art, but also finding time to give back because you've been with Trans Santa for like over 4 years now. It's like your fourth
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
I guess first, do you mind telling listeners what Trans Santa does?
Yes. So, Transanta is basically this program that's been around. I think this is maybe the sixth season where we essentially are connecting people to trans youth and helping them purchase gifts for the holidays for them. The trans youth, they write in like 24 years and younger. That's considered trans youth. But yeah, any sort of like gender variant or trans masc, trans femme, non-binary. If you write in and you say you're trans, that's the qualification. And yeah, they write handwritten letters or typed letters. They'll do like a little collage or send a photo or something and just talk about their story, what their needs are, what their struggles are, and we'll post it on Instagram. And then there'll be like a little link in the bio, and people can go to the link in bio and kind of match whatever letter they're connecting with, and it'll send them to an Amazon wish list. And then you can just anonymously purchase a gift or gifts for trans youth.
Nice. I love that because Avi, you found out about Trans Santa by being one of the little Santas and like buying someone a little
Yeah,
gift, right?
yeah. I mean, I feel like I came across it on Instagram and I was like, this is amazing. And I think there was, yeah, one year that I was like, I want to participate. And so I saw someone's letter and I went to their Amazon wish list. A lot of it though were like essentials, right? I feel like it's across the board of what people's needs are. But it's just such a beautiful organization. And are the letters only posted and active on Instagram? Like, so if someone wants to give and participate and do that, is it only on Instagram or is there a way to access people's letters on your website?
Yes. So yeah, the link in bio actually sends you to like a website where you can read the letters there also. So you don't have to be an Instagram user to
Got
see
it.
the letters.
Incredible. And what about for you? Like, what keeps you coming back each year?
Good question. Yeah, I mean I also came across Transanta on Instagram. I had been following one of the creators of Transanta for a few years, and then he posted like meeting some elves, and I was like, huh, okay. And yeah, I was just very like charmed by the project. It just I, personally, I have a hard time around the holidays. Like I don't have. Sorry if anyone in my family hears this, but I don't really have a family to go home to and like celebrate the holidays with. And yeah, I personally, my entire adult life have been like so. I just get so sad around the holidays because I'm like, cool, like all my friends who come from loving families, they get to go home and like be like loved, and I don't get that. And so this is kind of my way of, you know, trying to help other people feel loved around the holidays. And I don't know, that does something for me as well.
Oh, I love
Absolutely.
that. I'm such a crier. You're already making me tear up, and we're like 8 minutes into this thing. And we haven't even dug into it. That's
Just you
really
wait.
beautiful. Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's okay. I have tissues nearby. So you described yourself as being an elf, and I imagine that doesn't mean you're going around in tights and a little hat. So do you mind telling us what the day-to-day activity is as a trans Santa elf?
Yes. So we end up doing a lot. There's three of us, and it's been the same three for the last 3 years, maybe. But basically, we go through all of the applications. We personally read all of them, and we just make sure, everything is within like the rules, quote unquote, that people aren't sharing like too many personal details, or people aren't sending us pictures of like underage people because we can't post that on our Instagram.
Then if someone puts their like personal identifiers, you can't like it's a compliance issue. You can't legally post that online for people.
Yeah, so just we're just like checking every application and just making sure everything looks good, and then we'll flag it and deal with it later, or email the applicant, or we'll say accepted, okay, and this now that gets put into the queue to get posted later. So that's the main thing, is just going through all reviewing all of the applications.
What's that like reading so many letters from trans youth? Because I read through some of the ones you had sent us, and I was going on Instagram, and I mean, there's everything from people who are unhoused to people who are about to age out of the foster system to people who don't have access to their HRT. And then there's also like sweet 13-year-olds just asking for something nice, right? Who don't have the means or access or the privilege to be able to give them that Christmas they hope for. So what's that like for you to read those letters?
Yeah, it can be very, very heartbreaking. It can be triggering sometimes. It can be, yeah, definitely tear jerkers, but also sometimes there's people who are writing in that even though they're in such horrible situations, they still have hope. And I just think that's so beautiful. I mean, all of it is like so beautiful and also so tragic at the same time. And I definitely, yeah, I kind of have to like I can feel it, but I don't have to like take it on. But that's also like why I keep coming back, is just like I do want to hold their stories, and make sure that their stories are getting told and like posted, and just like making them feel seen and heard. And yeah, it is, yeah, it can be challenging to read a lot of those letters, but I think people need to read them.
Agreed.
Yeah, I love the way you ended that. People like these stories need to be heard and seen, and balancing that for your own mental well-being, especially since the holidays are hard. I imagine that's difficult. I mean, do you have advice for people, or is there anything that you found that's helped you navigate this challenging time? Because for a lot of trans people, it is, and queer people, and just people in general, it can be a very challenging time. If you feel comfortable sharing, is there anything you found that helps you not get emotionally burnt out doing this work?
I haven't yet somehow felt emotionally burnt out doing this work. I mean, it does help to talk to the other elves because they're reading all of this stuff too, all these letters. And yeah, we're like very in communication, the three elves, and we're just, yeah, sharing how letters are making us feel and supporting each other and just like reminding each other to like take care of ourselves. But yeah, somehow I haven't felt like too burnt out. I haven't fallen into the depths of despair or anything just yet from reading these letters.
Right. Like maybe it's almost like nourishing and healing in some way too. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you have the community, your elves. It's like a little chosen family, where you get to lean on each other, which I always say, like, it helps when there's at least one person that you can talk to and get real with, where you can feel, seen and heard. But yeah, I get that. Holidays can be rough. Holidays can be rough for sure.
Speaking of that hope and maybe the healing process, what do you feel like people may not realize about the impact that Trans Santa has on the community? Or is there things that you would like people to know? Basically, why is this organization important and the impact it has for the community?
Yeah, I guess there's a few things. Yeah, kind of as mentioned earlier, they're just particularly hard. Really many other like trans youth. Um, it- you know, it sucks to not kind of
Mm,
have the Christmas movie type of like Christmas holiday season where the family's coming down the stairs and everyone's excited to open their gift. Their children are like leaving cookies out for Santa. That we're sort of like feel like that's what Christmas is supposed to be like. And so I guess in a way, I mean, we can't do that for like Trans Santa can't make that happen for everybody, but there's still a lot of warmth there. Like people comment on each letter, like on Instagram, and people do like people say like, "Hey, I know exactly what you're feeling." Like adults, their peers are commenting on their letters on Instagram. So I think there's just like a lot of like opportunities for people to feel loved and cared for where they're just not getting from their families. And so I think that's really important.
yeah, I do love that, like, because the podcast is focusing on trans masks and media, I do love that you brought up the movie image of what we think Christmas is supposed to be, especially when you're young and you're a kid. When whether it's the you come downstairs and there's all the presents from Santa, or those movies, like, because a lot of Christmas movies do deal with the heart and the spirit of Christmas, which is a whole other topic in itself. Um, but there's always that most, especially with children's holiday movies, there's that feeling of like Santa or magic comes and fixes the problem, whether that's how you get the last gift at the end or that's what brings something together. There's sort of Was it the Deus Machina? Oh my gosh,
Deus,
I can't
what
speak.
it
Yeah,
Deus
Deus Machina,
Deus
right?
ex
Yes.
That's the
machina, Deus.
yes. I'm like combining that Ex Machina movie into it. That's a great movie with Alicia Vikander, but not relevant or a holiday film. Love the movie though. But yes, but basically the Greek plays and tragedies and comedies, there's the divine intervention where everything's going to crap and then a force comes out of nowhere and fixes everything, which is sort of what holiday movies are. And I think as a kid that can be really hard to wonder, why is it not me? How come Santa's not fixing my life or whoever comes in to help me? So I think that's a really great parallel or point to bring up for people that this is an opportunity to be I'm gonna make myself cry, like that magic for a kid during the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds so I'm so poetic, I'm making myself cry. But you know
Yeah, I
Oh
agree.
my
but you know what I
goodness.
mean.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, that's part of the reason why I think I gravitated towards wanting to give back too, because I think you mentioned this, Mars, was like giving someone else the opportunity to have that experience. You know, the magic of the holidays, the magic of Santa and writing a letter and, you know, getting whether it is just like a toy or again access to medical necessities like your hormones, like it's just really really so cool. But I also love that not only are you doing this powerful work, but you also have a background in like punk music, and like that's a whole revolution in and of itself. I would just love to know a little bit more about these creative punk spaces that you're occupying, and can you share more about that, your music?
Sure. Yeah. I've been playing since I was a teenager. I look like it, so I haven't been a teenager in a long time. And yeah, I kind of got into punk mid-teens and like primarily like DIY punk. So we're recording our own songs, we're putting on our own shows, we're hosting bands, having shows at our house and fest, like big punk fests, and there's a lot of like free vegan food. There was a lot of vegan growing up in punk, a lot of vegan chili.
Incredible. I didn't know that. It makes
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
sense doing
Yeah,
some
yeah,
research
yeah.
punk with vegan.
Wow.
I love that.
Okay. A lot of punk vegans, punk
Yes,
queer
yes.
vegans, and vegan chili. Yeah.
Yeah. It yeah, and I think it's really that I mean, it makes sense though, because something about which was interesting in just researching a little bit, because I did think it was interesting how, because you also wrote for that book Avi mentioned earlier, Black Punk Now, and it, the punk scene is grounded right in revolution, anti-establishment. You said like the do-it-yourself, like the DIY of emphasizing autonomy, and through that like punk has become like a place where marginalized people can connect. And punk is also, I didn't realize this, I'm also not a music person, so I wasn't generalizing punk people just for any punk listeners, but the punk scene often operates as a mutual aid network, and they do a lot of charity work. And so I'm curious, just from your perspective of, coming from this punk culture and then doing, because you do a lot of volunteer work as well as the, is it Riseboro Friendly Visitor, where you
Yes,
spend time with like
yes.
older people, senior folks. So I'm curious for you, how does the volunteering and the punk community go hand in hand, and do you see that the parallel of the punk within Trans Santa?
As you're talking about like do it yourself, like it's very we're doing these things because the leadership, the government, they're not. They don't, you know, see value in trans people and like trans people thriving. And so we're like, okay, well, we do, so we're going to do something about it. And, there's like a similar thread with like punk, like, oh, okay, like these record labels, like they don't see value in what we're doing. So we're going to record our own music ourselves, and we're going to distribute it ourselves and put out records ourselves, and we're going to set up our own tour, and we're not relying on, you know, record labels to determine our value or our worth in our art. And so yeah, there's like a similar thread of just like do it yourself through a lot of the things that I do, where yeah, like, or even like with the volunteer work I'm doing, that there are programs for need extra help at home. um but yeah, I don't know, like sometimes it's just like it's not quite enough, like, so I'm doing the work of like building furniture and like cleaning and just things that kind of just like there just needs to be like a little bit more help that seniors, and like the isolation. Yeah, I just like I want people who are not getting taken care of and sort of being like pushed aside, or I don't know, deemed, you know, worthless or just like not valuable or not as valuable. Maybe because I've always just been like into underdogs. I don't know. Like I want to.
Yeah, no, I love that. I was just gonna say for people who are listening, maybe not seeing the video clip, I feel like you sound fairly level, but the passion in your face, I was like, this is like I can feel the punk, like see the punk emanating of like, I'm gonna go flip that table and then I'm gonna go build another table for this like senior person who can't. I really love that. That's clearly just such a passion within you. And because you do so much like art and advocate activism, oof, how does that mix of rebellion and compassion like shape the art you put in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like I was saying this earlier to someone else, that I've just kind of always been very anti-establishment and not uh, just not able to accept what's in front of me. Like I just want to do something different, like something that like not that it's never been done before, but just something that goes against what the norms are. And just like blindly like just accepting what's in front of me and accepting that this is just how it is. Like there's got to be something beyond this. There's got to be something better. And if I can't find it, I'll just like create it or help create it or find other people who are it. And yeah, like there is this anti-establishment that I feel inside, but it's like coming from my heart. Like there is, I just don't want people to feel, how do I say it? Like I don't want anyone to feel like how downtrodden and like mistreated that I felt. Like, I want people to feel like empowered and cared for and loved. And I don't know, I feel like at least in the States, like it's very pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and it's very individual, like poke each other's eyes out, like dog eat dog kind of role. And I'm like, I don't, but what if we didn't do that? I'm always just like, what if we did something else? What if we didn't do this like harmful like pattern, and we did something just like totally different?
Yeah.
Like we've done this, let's try something different where we like actually care about our neighbors, and we like aren't selfish, and we are like trying to be more understanding.
Yeah, it's the spirit of Christmas. It is, and I mean, it's so interesting because, yeah, our system, like our community, like our world of the United States of America, it's not set up for people to succeed. Like, it's interesting you brought up the phrase, like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because that's actually impossible. You can't do that. Because if you're standing in boots and you try to pull yourself up, you're standing in the boots, you're pulling yourself up. It's literally, it's not possible to do, because there's definitely the consumer side of Christmas, right? And the capitalism side, which is the same system that's oppressing so many people, especially trans people and people of color. And It's interesting. I remember talking to my brother about this one time where it's like Christmas is the only holiday that has a spirit. No one's like, oh, you need to get into the, well, I was going to say spirit of Halloween, but I guess that is a store. But, there's not like, there's not like, oh, the New Year's Eve spirit or the Valentine's Day spirit or the Thanksgiving spirit slash Indigenous People Day spirit. You know, so it's interesting that Christmas particularly is like the only time a year where people are like reminded not to be a terrible person, but then it's also the most capitalist driven holiday as well. Like they're selling Christmas stuff since like September and people have to go shopping, and I know that's a concern with the tariffs, and by the time this podcast episode comes out, there should be some ruling on whether they stay, but we're heading into the holiday season with inflation and this economy, and then there's so much pressure to show up with gifts for people, especially children, because of the media culture that we live in. So it's definitely a very interesting, like, I don't know, it's not like a circle, it's just like a web of, there's a Christmas spirit and Transanta's punk, but then also Christmas has become not very
Yeah.
punk. But the meaning, the like every like emotional, like I feel like good Christmas movie or story, like, what's it, A Christmas Carol. It's all about a rich man being haunted by three ghosts until he gives back and pays his employees fairly. That's like the quintessential ad story. And somebody did a comparison that what Bob Cratchit made in today's money is more than our minimum wage. And that was considered poverty wages during that time, to the point where like a bunch of ghosts had to go harass his boss.
Yeah.
So that's like the true meaning of Christmas.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love Christmas. I was just like a whole tangent of that. But it's interesting how it all like intersects.
Yeah. And I'm like able to like hold both that Christmas is like super capitalist and trans youth need like toilet paper and like clothing and jackets, and there are these sort of essential things that they're asking for, and some of it is just like fidget toys or like a new like PS4 controller or y- a new CD, like kind of other like comfort things that like
Hmm. And I also love Transanta as a vehicle of like, not everyone celebrates Christmas, but everyone, might want or need something during this season. So I kind of like that too, that it feels it's very non denominational in that way, right? So I think that's always important too, to make more accessibility for anybody. How do people find out about like Transanta? I'm sure there's like some maybe that's happening, or like how do people submit letters? Just write to Transanta?
so we do there's a period. It has kind of changed. The time frame has changed a little bit the last couple of years. But there will be a couple of weeks where we are accepting applications, and I mean, a lot of it does center around Instagram. That we'll post on Instagram like, where applications are open from this time to this time. Get your applications in, and then amount of time, but like please get them in. Um, there might be a newsletter for have applied in the past. Um, I think it's primarily, yeah, Instagram is where we say like, hey, we're taking applications.
Got it. And is an application just like the letter that they're sending, or is it like a form that someone's filling out?
Oh yeah, it's a whole form. So
It's a
you're
whole
putting your
form. I
name, your
see.
address, putting the link to your wish list, you're uploading your
Got it.
photo, showing, you're
Okay.
writing your caption.
Got it. It's a true, like you're saying, it's a true application. Like, oh, like
Yeah,
it's a real
yeah.
thing that people are filling out to submit, with hopes. Yeah.
Do you ever get do applicants who then receive things, do they ever write back to Trans Santa to just be like, hey, we like got this, or the impact getting this item had on me?
Yes, actually. Sometimes we get emails, but usually people write in our DMs to just send a picture of the things that they received or send like a little thank you note, and we'll post those in our stories to just say like, and we'll obscure it actually is to just make it anonymous, but um, we let people write us thank you notes and we just share it on our Instagram stories.
That's awesome. You know, because sometimes I feel like people, like for instance, for me, like as an artist and as an actor, sometimes I don't understand the impact that my visibility or my work might have. And to sometimes I'm not always getting that feedback of like, hey, this really meant a lot to me. But the fact that there is that space for people to write back to say, hey, thank you so much. You have no idea how much you helped me. And then to get to share that with the people that were a part of that is really beautiful and making that happen. Um, I kind of would love to read some letters, actually. I know you shared some letters with us, so let's do that. Let's see.
Yeah, I was gonna say in holiday special tradition, now we have a new format. You know how they always have like the like small stories and like the Christmas specials and like it's segmented.
I love it.
So now we're moving on to the Trans Santa letters.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that intro, Yas.
Put some little jingle
I
bells in the
love
background.
it. A little transition. Whew, jingle, jingle, jingle. Okay. All right. So, the first letter you shared with us is from Larry, who's 24. And Larry wrote, help me celebrate Christmas a lot better in the refugee camp this year. Hello, my name is Larry. I am a transmasculine individual who is seeking asylum in Zambia from Kenya. I have been in the refugee camp for 3 years now, and all the 3 Christmases have been the same. Sad. I was just wishing that this year my Christmas would be different. I wanted to be happy and filled with hope. On my Christmas wish list, I'm just wishing for this stuff. A binder, which will enable me to move freely and be comfortable in myself. A Samsung S24 Ultra. I want to document my journey as a trans refugee here in the camp, and one I will hopefully make a film, documentary, or write a book about it. Having to run away from my home country because of who I identify as is something I really hope turns into something better, even though I am an asylum seeker here. I also wish to have some clothes because the ones I have are torn and old, and lastly, some food for Christmas so that I can have something different to eat on Christmas than just porridge, beans, and water. This would be like a Christmas in heaven for me. My dream is to be able to make it out of the camp someday and be able to live authentically without fear that I might be killed or imprisoned. I would love to be able to be a voice for other trans and LGBTQIA communities because I am in this and I know and feel every pain they go through because it's also my pain. I really hope someday that I get out of the camp and be in a place where I am fully accepted for who I am. Wow.
Oh, you weren't kidding about me crying in this episode.
Yeah, it's powerful.
So I was thinking maybe one day we'll have them on the podcast because they made an incredible, film or documentary because someone gifted them that camera. All right, this next one is from Ocean, who's 13 years old. Dear Trans Santa, my name is Ocean. I'm a non binary child who is 13 years old. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. My pronouns are they, them, and some of my favorite hobbies include reading, making crafts, and drawing anime. I also recently started learning how to crochet. It's been tricky, but really fun. I live with my Maddie, who is a Bosnian genocide survivor, and I also have a younger brother. An activity our family likes doing is picking up trash in our neighborhood, giving out N95 masks, water, clothing, and first aid items to our struggling unhoused neighbors. We are hoping to move in the future, followed by 9 little hearts, where our family does not face discrimination and harassment from our landlord. I will be super grateful, however, you choose to support me. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season and have a happy new year. Ocean smiley face.
Share the little drawing. There's a little drawing there that Ocean made. Yeah.
Oh, yes, I was zoomed in. There's a little drawing of, I think, themselves as a little anime character with a waving hello and a big smile, and their shirt says Trans Santa, and it says, "Thank you for bringing some joy to trans kids like me." Gah, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay, Yas. I mean, it truly is moving. It just really is, right? It's gonna tug on our heartstrings. Oh, thanks for reading that one. Oh, that's great, Yas.
And this letter is from Matthew and Eli, age 21. Merry Christmas to everyone from Matt and Eli. We are having both an exciting and scary year. Eli and I are both trans men. Eli, thankfully, has been able to afford his HRT, but others have not been so lucky. I cannot afford HRT, let alone a visit to the hospital or doctor. I suffer from chronic pain and inflammation from what I really don't know. It inhibits me to enjoy life pain free. And if I had the money, I would absolutely get back on HRT and get to the bottom of my diagnosis. But alas, I can only do so much, even with 3 jobs, and Eli having several more jobs to the pile. The cost of living here is extensive, so we're looking for the following this year: gender affirming clothes for Matt, something special for both of us, warm clothes for both of us, and whatever can be contributed to the fund to help us not only pay for my HRT, but our IVF journey to start a family together. A lot to look forward to, but things have to get better. They have to. I know other people and I know other people are in my same shoes, and I hope next year I'll be in a position to donate back to this amazing community. Thank you to all the little lovely elves and hearts for helping us this Christmas. Merry Christmas.
And I love that the image is like they made a little letter with like a little Christmas present and reindeer, a gingerbread person, and it says naughty nice. And then, of course, nice is checked, and a nice evergreen tree in the bottom right hand corner. That's really, really beautiful. Oh,
Yeah, and for anybody who wants to read more Trans Santa letters or ones from this season where they can donate, like we've mentioned a couple times, you can go to their Instagram. The handle is Trans Santa. And that's also, it looks like that's the website as well, transanta.com.
exciting. Have letters already been chosen for this year?
We're mostly done, but yeah, a lot of them have been accepted. There's just some letters that need a little extra attention.
There's been that recurring theme we've talked about of the story where these kids' stories that they're sending in, the stories that they see. As somebody who is an artist and involved in this type of community work, is there a story that you would like to see represented in media?
I don't know. I feel like I'm very picky with media. So, and I think this kind of comes from my like anti-establishment like punk roots where I'm just like I don't trust anyone to handle the stories I actually want to see. Like the stories that are like my stories, like I don't other people to be able to tell them. Um but if I guess if I were to put that in in the hands of other people who are not me, yeah, I mean, I guess like as an alternative like black trans person, it is kind of nice to see like us in media sometimes. Like I guess I can never like fully trust that these characters are going to represent me or my friends or anything like that. But it is it, I'm just like, oh, okay, like I can kind of see myself in this character, this like black trans character. Um yeah. I guess that's what I'll say.
I love that. Yeah, because that's, I mean, a great point. A lot of the families we follow are very like nuclear or single mom who's a nurse specifically. She always is a nurse because she works odd hours for Santa to come do something with the kids. But yeah, 100% agree. I love that. I personally have always wanted to see like a Persian family celebrating because we love Christmas, and I it's always like a white family that lives somewhere really cold, and Christmas with snow. Like I associate it with rain because we used to have a rainy season in Southern California before climate change. And so I've never seen a family like mine in a Christmas movie.
Same in this way where like I would love to see a like Latina family movie too. I feel like there's been some, but it's like feels like it's always the same kind of stereotypical tropes or like things that are happening with Latina stories. Like we got the tamales and we're gonna play the salsa, which like, hey, that might be a part of the holiday, but like for instance, didn't grow up in what we would say is a traditional Latina household. So we had elements of the culture, but like it wasn't all just that. So it'd be cool to, of course, there was some trans queer stuff in the mix, but just seeing like a community because I have Mexican, Salvadorian, and Puerto Rican, and so it's like this fusion, right, of cultures.
Mhm.
But it's not just like I said, salsa and tamales and I don't know, piñatas.
Christmas pinata.
Anyways, but yeah, I agree. The holidays, like we were saying, it's can be they can be complicated sometimes. There can be joy, and it's about us sourcing sometimes that joy. But I understand there's also a lot of still hardships and trauma that can exist with the holiday season as well. But as we kind of wrap this up, I would like to end on a happy note. And I was curious if you would like to share a one of your happiest holiday memories. And again, right, this can be in any point of your life, but something that maybe is memorable and joyful for you.
When I lived in this big punk house in Oakland, like 15, 16 years ago, um, I just remember we ate Thanksgiving dinner that we had. There's maybe like seven of us or something. We all had dinner together, and we just ate so much food that we like watched Independence Day, and we all had to unbutton our pants because we were just so full. That's just like, I don't know. It's just so funny to me. And that was the first thing that came to mind. Like,
I think that's great. I think that's great. That's a good one, right? Like it's to this day still something that you remember and like just like the humor within that. Like it's a light memory, which is awesome, but also that feeling of feeling full, probably full because you were with people you loved, but also full from all of that incredible food, I bet.
I love that. I love how slice of life that is, and how like those quiet joy moments, because I feel like a lot of times I think people get that pressure of like, what's a happy memory, like your one of your most joyful things, and they're like, I need to pick something that's like this huge marker in time, but that's not really those mark, time, but I think it's the quiet moments in between that really fill our lives. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about Trans Santa. I know we've dropped the handles for Trans Santa, but in case people are interested in more about you, uh, what's your handle? Where can people find you?
so I have a couple handle is MMDizzy. The handle I've had since AOL days. Um, and then I also have, I did mention earlier that I'm a cis, so I also have a separate ceramics only Instagram that's sphincter underscore boutique. Sphincter boutique.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you again, Mars.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks again.
Oh, that was so amazing and incredible getting to chat with Mars and learn more about him, but also about Trans Santa. I don't know, that was really cool.
I agree. Clearly, I was very moved because I kept
Yeah.
crying. So, in, like we said, the fashion of a holiday special, here is segment 3. Cue reindeer, I guess, or the Nutcracker. So something that and it's amazing how like everything sort of just comes full circle with we brought up how there's this perception of what holiday movies are like for people growing up. But something that I don't know if how many people really realize is they are money makers. They're a huge part of the entertainment industry. There's a reason why Hallmark does so many of them. There's more queer stories that are starting to come around, but generally trans people are left out of this money maker. And some of the stats I found was pretty crazy. According to Forbes, from a 2023 article, the Hallmark Channel produces over 40 holiday movies a year, generating over 400 million in annual revenue, and that actually accounts for 70% of its total yearly viewership. And then I say other streaming platforms. Hallmark is a channel, but they have their own streaming platform as well, which I definitely watched quite a bit when I was recovering from my histo like last Christmas. But those streaming platforms made 132 million globally in just Q4 of 2023, according to Parrot Analytics from a 2024 article. And then made for TV holiday movies typically cost about 1 to 2 million to produce. So that margin is pretty high. So if Hallmark on the high end spent 80 million to make a holiday movie, and they still made over 400 million, that's like over 300 million
Wow.
in profit. So there's a lot of money in this genre that trans people are being left out of.
You're right, though, there is a little bit, a sprinkling entering the mainstream market, but it's still stopped and stuck at
Mhm.
the gay white like couple, right?
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
the lesbian white couple. But yeah, trans people are significantly left out of the conversation and media. I mean, even in the research, I think I found like 3 things and that ratio is crazy. 3 out of how many did you
Yeah.
say? Like in total?
I mean, Hallmark alone's doing over 40 a
Yeah.
year, and yeah, because it's 3 that have some
Right.
trans masc rep. There's a couple more that have trans women,
Yes.
but I don't even know if they're not necessarily traditional holiday movies, which we'll get into in a
Mm-hmm.
second. But for people who are looking for a little trans masc rep, do you want to bring up those 3 that you did find?
Sure. Yeah, of course. So I found RuPaul's the B word. I want
Yeah.
to respect our listeners, but it's the B word who stole Christmas, which was a 2021 film or holiday special as part of the RuPaul Drag Race franchise. But it features Gottmik, who is actually the show's first trans mask performer. And of course, only on the US version. And then I guess there was another trans mask contestant.
Yeah, so Gottmik was the first and only trans mass performer on the US drag race. There's a performer named Denim who's trans mask on the Canadian version. But Gottmik, the drag persona, Gottmik, is featured in RuPaul's Christmas movie.
Yes, and Gottmik is a trans mask
Yes.
person. Yeah,
Mhm.
perfect. So there's that one.
We got one out of the way.
Yeah. All right. The second one is actually a documentary, and I actually have seen it, and it's called Santa Camp, and it was released on Netflix in 2022, but it is a whole account on trans mask Santas, and I think it's just the coolest thing
That
ever.
is so cool. I love that.
Yeah, it was really cool to just see like in the different parts of the country, like these trans mask Santas doing their thing and being like, I'm Santa, no, and I'm Santa. So it was really, really like heartfelt, of course.
I love that so much. It's funny just thinking about growing up how I was like, I want to be Indiana Jones, Humphrey Bogart, Bruce Lee. Whereas I love to talk to the trans boy who grew up being like, I want to be Santa, not Mrs. Claus, but I want to be Santa one day.
Santa. Yeah. Oh, that just gave me like little joyful chills. I love that. And then the third one is A Savage Christmas, which is an Australian film that was released in 2023, which has a trans mask actor who's playing the boyfriend of the main character who has just come out as a trans woman and is going home for Christmas. So that was another film I found. I haven't seen it, but it is on my list to watch.
And also, the trans mask actor, Max Joffa, also served as the community consultant in the writer's room as well.
Yes. See, many hats.
Yeah. It, it's funny. A little behind the scenes tea is we started mixing up the movies because there aren't really happy trans movies for the holidays.
Mm,
And while it's really, at least we have three that we could find. Of course, like if you know of any other trans mask representation in a holiday movie, let us know because we love to know about it and help elevate that. But while we were looking into just trans movies in general, trying to find trans mask representation, a lot of the trans holiday movies are not, they're not happy, and a lot of them are mixed genre, which could be horror based. So for example, I was getting A Savage Christmas mixed up with the movie Carnage for Christmas, which follows a trans true crime podcaster, Lola, as she returns to her conservative hometown for the holidays. Only when she gets there, she has to deal with the rejection of her family, but then she has to deal with a masked Santa serial killer who's tied to her hometown's dark legend, which honestly, I want to watch this. That sounds great. Right up my alley. But again, a darker, like that mixed genre of it's a horror Christmas movie. And so A Carnage for Christmas, A Savage Christmas titles threw me for a loop a little bit.
right. And like you just said, though, that a lot of the genres or the types of stories that are being told that have trans rep are kind of heavy or like darker, rather.
Yeah, because the ones I could find, uh, which the you said the plot of A Savage Christmas?
A Savage Christmas is actually listed as a comedy. So
Mhm.
I think it's meant to have comedic like tones
Yeah, I read
and
that as it
whatnot.
was a
Yeah.
dark comedy, right? She's dealing
There
with
you go.
estrangement, and then the reunion, A Savage Christmas. This is the plot for it. It spirals into the dark comedic mix of family secrets and holiday mayhem, but it's not the shiny, polished like Hallmark, type of Christmas movie. Then there's the 2003 Japanese animated tragicomedy called Tokyo Godfathers, which follows three unhoused companions, a trans woman, a runaway teen, and an aging alcoholic who discover an abandoned baby on Christmas Eve and set out to reunite it with its parents. And of course, along the way, finding chosen family and redemption, which it sounds beautiful and like a great, wonderful film.
Right.
But again, it's a mixed genre film.
I see. Well, mixed genre seems to be a theme.
Yeah, because the last one I threw on the list, which it takes place on Christmas Eve, so this might be a die-hard debate situation of if it's a Christmas movie, is Tangerine, which is I would say, I don't know, famous is the right word, or because it's one of the first feature films that used iPhone filmmaking, so
Right.
it's really known in the industry. It's a
Yeah.
2015 film, and it does take place on Christmas Eve. It follows two trans women as they navigate friendship, betrayal, and survival in the city's underbelly. And there's, of course, humor and a lot of heart. But again,
Mm-hmm.
these all sound like wonderful films, and we're not dissing them in any way. But we're just talking about the industry that's making a ton of money, millions and millions of dollars. Those are jobs for trans writers, actors, creatives, editors on every level who can get like a really consistent job. I mean, Hallmark, they're not filming 40 movies in a couple months. Yeah, they're filming all year round probably. So that was just something that really stuck out to me, is the mixed genre element of a quote unquote trans holiday movie. Because, like you said, Hallmark is starting to come out with the white gay couple. I think Friends and Family, I think the lesbians in that are mixed. And it was actually a really like nice, just basic, regular holiday movie that happened to have a lesbian couple. So they're like popping up a bit, but trans people, and especially trans masculine people, because except for A Savage Christmas, which does have a supporting trans masc character, all of these narrative features focus on trans women. And again, it's not a trans girl going home for the holidays to meet the high school sweet like guy she had a crush on to leave her city boyfriend for. It's she has to deal with a serial killer. Which again, love the concept. Totally up my alley and what I write.
Totally. Like you're saying, it's still tied to violence or chaos or sadness. But where are the happy trans holiday movies where it's just like, you know, the opening presents under the Christmas tree, or like falling in love with a Santa? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my God,
A
I would love
Santa at the
that.
mall. A trans Santa at the mall.
And he meets like the lady who's trying to shop, like who gets dumped at like 3 days before Christmas because it's always like that
Exactly.
for her.
Right? Okay, there you go.
Her.
We just wrote a holiday film. We're going into pre-production.
Yeah. And what's funny to me, I think, just looking at myself, because the trans joy episode, I was kind of in that devil's advocate spot of like, well, what if we want to tell other stories? But when it comes to holiday movies, I'm like, where is the trans joy? And I think it's because it's genre, right? Holiday movies are filled with joy, hope. Not to say that these other movies aren't. We haven't watched all of them. But I don't want to like use the term family friendly, because I think in today's viewing culture, family friendly usually means like PG or kiddie. But back in my day, in the 90s, family friendly, like fun for the whole family, actually meant that every person in the family can enjoy the movie, which is why Disney movies have aged so well. Like the Disney Renaissance, you can enjoy it as an adult. And I don't think my mom would want to watch a holiday movie where some woman is being chased by a serial killer. I would, but
Right.
that's not a movie I could sit down with my mom and watch.
Correct. Like we're not knocking those films that are holiday, Christmas, and horror. Like we're not,
Yeah.
or thriller. I mean, of course, there is a market for that. But like you were saying, to be able to watch it with your family. Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's a lot of my family memories is, Christmas morning, we plug it in. Like, and we have, it's funny because I was talking to some people. Holiday movies are probably also the most watched movie, right? Types of movies, right? Because I feel like most people, they have their annual, I need to watch Hocus Pocus every Halloween.
Yes.
I watch The Nightmare Before Christmas every November. We watch these 15 different Christmas movies every year. And so if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you're watching a movie, like one movie 30 times. There's a lot of movies that are probably arguably better than your stock and trade Christmas movie that are like movies that I love that I have not watched 30 times or 25 times.
Right. Not at all. I like what you just said, though, that there are those staples that like you do return to as tradition. I feel like, I don't know if I have one, but I know my wife's family, Home Alone, is like their like film over the holidays that they would bond over and
Yeah.
watch every year. But I guess like this is maybe off topic, but on topic. I would love to know more about what you do during the holidays. What are some of
Mm.
your traditions or the things that you do around the holiday time?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of it is related to film. We don't do the big family stuff anymore. Just over time, their family's gotten smaller, which is fine. It's funny. I think when I was thinking about like, why do I love the holidays so much? Like, I have so many nutcrackers. Like, they're out year round. I love snowmen. Like, it's kind of a problem. Like, my mom had to put like a mandate on the family. Even like I've been with my girlfriend for about 3.5 years, and she got me a nutcracker. But my mom was kind of like, he doesn't need more nutcrackers. Like, we've put like a, s- a stop on it. And I think one, this is actually kind of a side tangent now. I think I love the Nutcracker so much because one, I grew up with it, but it's such a trans mask story
Ah.
because the Nutcracker Prince is a guy who's been transformed into a body he doesn't identify with, right? He's been transformed into a nutcracker.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the 1992 animated one, he ends up being Uncle Drosselmeyer's nephew. So this is also a thing of like, because he can have a age appropriate relationship with Clara, like the implication, right? But it's this idea that I think really resonated that he kind of like Pinocchio, he's made out of wood and wants to be a real boy.
Mm.
But I love Christmas because my dad didn't celebrate it growing up. He's Muslim,
Mm.
and they had Christian families in Iran, so they were like aware of Christmas and would see it. But it wasn't until he married my mom, and she introduced the Persians to Christmas, and they love it. Oh my God, Persians love Christmas. It really meshes well culturally. It's gaudy, flashy, there's gifts. People love it. So I got to grow up with a parent who was getting to experience
Oh,
Christmas for like the first time. Like it wasn't like 20 years of holiday Christmas, he's like celebrating his first Christmas with me or his
right.
second Christmas.
Oh.
So we got to really enjoy that. And like a tradition we don't do anymore was like in preschool, we made reindeer food, quote
Oh
unquote.
my goodness.
And it was oatmeal with glitter that we would throw on the grass. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and we always left carrots out for the reindeer along
yes.
with the cookies and
Yes.
milk.
Yes.
Um, but it is like film. Our Christmas movie, we have a lot to the point where even like we were getting a little tired of them.
Mm,
For some reason, Tim Allen's like a big part of that world, like the
yeah.
Santa Claus,
Right.
Christmas with the Cranks.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, they came out with the Santa Claus series, which was really good. So we were able to put that in our rotation. Christmas morning, we used to like go to the movie
Yes,
theaters.
because it's open on the
Yeah,
25th of December, the movie theaters. Yeah.
a lot of people do that. We have cinnamon rolls in the morning. My brother and I give each other our gifts. Like we gift each other, my brother and I, Christmas Eve. So that's part of our Christmas Eve tradition. So we have a lot. So my family was really into it. So I think that's why I'm so
Of
passionate
course.
about Christmas. Is I love it.
Yeah.
And not seeing my family reflected in any way in media was also really weird,
Right.
just because it was such a big part and it still is, right? Like it's smaller, it's more contained.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in retrospect, now that I'm an adult, I have a feeling we watched mostly movies on Christmas because my parents just wanted to unplug and relax.
Which makes sense. It can be a stressful time of the year for anybody, really. And you can tell you love it.
Yeah. What about you? I know you
Yeah.
mentioned you're not necessarily doing tamales.
Well, okay, LOL. I am, but what I was trying to get at is like that's not the only like way that we need to associate.
Hmm.
Primarily, I mean Mexican, the tamales, but it's funny because I was saying that so growing up, we would celebrate Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Christmas Eve would be dedicated to my mom's side of the family because that's where I have a lot of aunts, uncles, and cousins, and my grandparents when they were still with us. And so we would all go to my grandma's house and we spent Christmas Eve there. We did go to Mass. So we did attend a service at the church. And then we would come back to my grandma's house. And my grandma is from El Salvador, but she married a Puerto Rican man. And so her tamales were like a fusion of like Salvadorian and Puerto Rican. So she used banana leaves, which is more typical in Caribbean culture, to wrap, which would be pasteles in Puerto Rico. But my grandma would do the tamales wrapped in a banana leaf and then the masa to make tamales. But then we also had like other very what you would classify like what American
Like
side.
ham
Yes,
and green
we
beans
oh
and
yeah, we had the honey baked ham.
oh, yes, that's absolutely a staple.
Yeah, so that would be Christmas Eve where we would open presents from the aunts and the uncles and do that. But can
Yeah.
I share something about that?
Mm,
I obviously, right, assigned female at birth. That was how I grew up in my
mm.
childhood. I would always feel so self conscious opening gifts with all of my cousins because usually I was getting very, I'm gonna label like girly gifts or like something that was pink or purple and frilly or something. And I would have to act like I was so happy and excited and that I loved it because if I didn't, I would get in trouble, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, that just came into my mind right now.
That was I when I hit my boom mic, I was like, I lost my train of thought, but that was actually kind of where I was going with it because the gifts from quote unquote Mrs. Claus were always clothes. You kind of suck when you're a kid. Now you're like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah,
But yeah, they would be quote unquote girl clothes.
right.
And I feel like there is the twofold disappointment of, or like the twofold issue with it is one, my mom still trying to like find a way because I would get like the action figure, but then like a piece of girl clothing, right? It
Interesting.
was I get some boy stuff, and then I think event like some years she wouldn't try as hard, but that was always difficult. And like she was more consistently giving me boys clothes than obviously family.
Okay.
But then I don't know if you ever dealt with this. If when like if that aunt got me, I think I got for some reason these. I was also like a preteen. I mean, my mom was like, "Why?" If they were like tight, like faux snakeskin leather pants, it
Oh.
was weird. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Y2K fashion was really questionable.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Okay.
but it would be one of those things where it's like, well, we're gonna go to that person's house. You need to wear what they got
Oh
you
no.
out of like respect to show that you like it or you're wearing
Oh
it.
man.
And so then I'd have to wear the clothes at some point.
Right. Right. You couldn't keep it hidden in a drawer somewhere. Like
Yeah.
actually, oh yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah.
I do get that. I do get that. But then on Christmas Day, it would just be my mom, my dad, my sister, and I at our house.
Mm.
And then starting the day, yes, with presents or opening gifts and eating breakfast, maybe seeing a movie. But then when my grandma, my dad's mom was alive, she would come to our house to celebrate with us. But yeah, but now you said a little bit about like how, doing a bigger family celebration, but over time, people start building their own families or kind of branching off.
Yeah.
So now Christina and I are trying to build our own traditions. And so every December, because her birthday is in December as well, we travel. We go on a trip and we say, hey, this is our gift to each other.
Aw.
Like,
That's
and
awesome.
just trying to make memories that way. But yeah, I feel like I just want, yes, but I want to name like the privilege I think that we both experienced though growing up of
Hmm.
sure, maybe internally we were wrestling with things, but we still had the love of and presence of family and celebrating and getting things.
Yes, which especially after reading those letters of seeing just the basic necessities people need.
Correct.
But I do think it's interesting that you were talking about how the very few trans holiday movies there are mixed genre. And there is a level of like, it makes sense because our experiences were mixed emotions during Christmas. Like we just talked about how it was really great, and then the dysphoria happened, or like, you
Mm-hmm.
can't get this, you can't do that. Like, I kept wanting to get a skateboard for Christmas, but I think my grandpa finally did, but my mom was like, girls don't skateboard.
Right.
um and then I skateboarded as an adult and broke my leg, so
Oh,
shows
that's
her.
right.
But
Oh
yeah,
gosh.
I know. I used to skateboard. It didn't happen. Just so the record's straight for listening, I skateboarded for a while before I like broke my leg in 7 places.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think it's that thing of, as creators, and I know we've mentioned a lot of movies, but this could be books, comics, animation, even Christmas music, right? Because a lot
Mm.
of there's a spectrum of Christmas music. I'll be a Blue Christmas to Jingle Bells, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very different. I get, as creatives in the industry, I think it's that interesting balance that ultimately is kind of a part two of the trans joy conversation, just through a different genre lens of honoring that duality, but then also maybe wanting the fantasy,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Leaning into the traditional aspects of holidays or Christmas. Because I understand like what Mars was talking a little bit about, like being against, like being a very anarchist in this way and
Yeah.
like a rebellion to revolt against the norm. But sometimes there's a part of me that's like, well, but I kind of do want that and the fantasy or the magic and the spirit of Santa, of snow, of like the whimsy that we have seen.
And I do think it's one of those things where there's a generational element. Like, when I was in the trans choir, I was meeting, I view them as kids, like people in their early 20s. Some people were still teens who were had started transitioning. And it's one of those things where, like, growing up in the 90s, that wasn't a thing I even knew about. And I don't want to make a generalization that there's more support for trans youth or trans kids growing up, but there is a reality that, and that's part of what Mars was also talking about. Like, you want it to be better for the next person that comes along. And I know things are really tough and scary right now, but I think that's still happening. I think the fact that, like, a preteen trans boy can even knows what a binder is and can wear one, wasn't even remotely in my
Mm-hmm.
worlds of, I was still in the phase of like, I'm a freak and no one else on the face of the planet's like me. And it would be interesting to get a
Mm-hmm.
younger trans creative to see if just how that's changed. As back on my TikTok days, my thing on TikTok became overreacting to queer cartoons. And so that's actually why I watched Owl House too. People were recommending it. But it started with She-Ra because I didn't know that
Oh.
was made by queer creators. And I just kind of reenacted my whole like, that seems suspicious. And then it gets just, oh, overtly queer. And there were people commenting of like, why is and I know there's trolls and whatever, but people who are like, oh, this is normal. Like, why is this a big deal? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Queer characters in children's cartoons is a brand new thing made by the people who never had that representation. And then there are people now who are growing up who are like, that's not a big deal. Like, why are you excited at all about it? And it's like, you don't understand what a big deal it is.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if, like, the mixed genre, like, it's because there's so many reasons why people could have a hard time with the holidays. It could be they had an amazing childhood, then got disowned. It could be that it was always uncomfortable and terrible. It could be just a non-trans related thing of like a loss of a loved one and it's just not the same anymore. So it's, again, we're not a monolith, but the different perspectives. But I do wonder if there are more queer youth and trans youth growing up who maybe don't need the dark comedy horror
Right.
adjacent
Right.
Christmas movie. They just want to see themselves go into the North Pole to help Santa
Yes.
deal with whatever mythological thing is happening.
Correct. I mean, right? And like, I mean, I know we already pitched an idea for a holiday movie. But with that being said, like, what are some other ideas or things that you would want to see, or in creating your own trans or trans mask holiday film? Like, what would that look like?
Yeah, I would definitely want there to be an element of the Persian. I think I just want to see different, like a different culture. I also would like to see it without snow.
Okay.
I don't associate, I associate rain with Christmas because of that. And also I don't know a lot about geography, but the whole southern hemisphere would have Christmas during the summer, right? I
Correct.
feel like
Yeah.
there's like such a small amount of people who experience Christmas in the snow, and every Christmas movie takes place in Chicago where the weather is awful.
Right. Okay. Okay. So you want no snow.
Yeah, no, so unless they're going to the North Pole, there's two different types of movies I would like to see. I'd like to see one that is like a Hallmarky romance where the trans mask, like leading man, is a trans mask guy who gets the girl, whether he's like the country bumpkin who steals her from her like lawyer boyfriend in New York. And then, like, honestly, I think it'd be cool to see some sort of maybe animated fantasy where, like, a boy who
Yes.
just happens to be trans just ends up getting
Right.
swept up into like a Polar Express kind of,
Yes.
Santa Chronicles kind of adventure.
I agree. I would have to say that's where my head goes, of course. Is
Yeah,
like
animation. Yeah,
animation, but like do you remember those claymation
yeah.
films? I was like, let's do one. Let's do in that style. And yeah, but I have to workshop still what the story is. But I would
Yeah.
love to see something like that.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I love the idea of just seeing trans people existing in different mediums of art,
Hmm.
whether it's animation, claymation, live action, the written word, a comic book.
Yeah. What about comic books or novels, right? Like some
Hmm.
books. And I'm sure I know those exist, right? Like those,
Yeah.
because I know for a fact that those are most likely out there. But something that just I thought of too is like you were saying the trans choir, but like making an album of like a
Mm.
trans person singing all the holiday classics. Like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I would love that. Or even like new holiday music.
Yeah, let's write some new originals.
Even like, I think something that would be cool too is there's so many holidays around this time of year.
Correct. We're talking a lot about
Yeah, because
Christmas
that is where
too.
the industry
Yeah.
is, right? It's very Christmassy, but like I would love to see like the Hallmark version of like the winter solstice, and it just happens to be like
Sure.
Wiccan people who are queer and trans that happen to like the same exact tropes of like a Hallmark movie, but just a totally different setting.
More representation, period, is what we are asking for and craving.
Yes, because I think there is a I think that's a joke with like a friend we were talking about an idea we never wrote about like the father left for it's like a Halloween kind of thing, and it's just like panning over the photos, and it's like those like traditional photos on the wall, but the dad's just really goth,
Okay.
and everyone else is not goth in the family,
I
and
see.
like it's kind of like at first it's like that's fight, but I'm like, but there those are families that are real. Like I have so many goth friends and none of them are ever dating a goth
That's
person.
funny. Right, right? Like, again, the variety that it can exist
Yeah.
within one, like, group or a family, even.
Yeah. And I think too Hallmark is interesting because I think people do enjoy the lack of originality, right? That is why people watch procedurals. For people unfamiliar with the term, it's like NCIS, Law and Order, because people like the predictability of knowing something will resolve. And it's a formula. I've been trying to focus on rest more, and I was doing a little research, and neurologically, to give your nervous system a break, rewatching comfort movies or the same movies because your brain already knows the plot, you don't have to mentally work as hard.
Mm, that is so good.
So there is value in the repetitive formula of movies. And I think especially the holidays, people want to decompress.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think generally people are ready for originality. I think people want to see different stories. Like, and even if they kept it like in the same, I think it was Red One was the movie with The Rock and Kiernan Shipka and other famous people. And it's typical Santa issues, right? It's like, man who's not grateful for his life ends up getting involved with like the mythology of the world. But it was from the perspective of as if like Red One, like Air Force One, he has like Secret Service and they witch mythology,
I
which you don't see a
see.
lot of. It was just different. And it's also, refreshing in that.
Was it more of an action holiday film?
Yeah, it was an action comedy.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. And again, like, it's mixed genre, which is nothing wrong. Like Nightmare Before Christmas, hello, fantastic
Right.
mixed genre.
Well, hey, okay. Hey, look at us coming up with movie ideas. So we're going to get Brian, Michael Smith, to be in the action holiday movie.
Yes, he has the help of a trans boy, and they go save Santa from some like the Krampus or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the Krampus.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
So when we're talking about making like what we want to see in like a holiday movie to reflect trans masculine representation authentically, what do you think would make a holiday movie honor the trans masculine experience?
Sure. Well, I mean, the first one is like if it's a trans mask character casting a trans mask actor, but I'm always pushing for it not to be like, again, this trans trauma holiday film. So it could just be them existing. But obviously, the story is not about them being trans. But I think what helps too sometimes is like the different queer relationships that we can show, like if it is a T for T, or, the other little nuances that you can throw into a film that just is like a nod, or in like, if you remember, like in Wendell and Wild, if you blink, you miss
Yeah.
it. Kind of those moments that just make something feel a little more real and lived in and authentic.
Hmm.
So I feel like it's just more of that in an overarching like umbrella of a holiday film that involves a cast of characters, that if it's Rudolph and Santa and the Krampus.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's exciting that we have a writer booked for a future episode because I think that's where that like trickle down effect helps, right? If a trans writer and they have a trans mass director and actor, sometimes you don't have to push as hard for representation as we think we do because the nuance is naturally going to be there. Like you said with Wendell and Wild, you blinked and you missed it. And I think it's something where there's just small moments that come up in our day to day
Right.
that, and especially with like a holiday thing, right? It could be like the moment of like getting a sweater that is affirming versus like all the sweaters that they didn't get that weren't affirming or dysphoric when they were younger. And I think too, like I do like making jokes, like trans jokes, and I feel like in the sense of like I was carpooling with a couple people to rehearsal and I was digging through my backpack and I found a menstrual product. I found a pad. And I was like, a pad? And I was like, oh, wow, that's a throwback. And I was with two cis women. They just started laughing. It's just kind of that moment of like, it was still in my bag for when it like years, like a year and a half later or
Yeah.
a year later, I had it. This the small things like that. And again, kind of what we talked about with the Trans Joy episode is the importance of having like the people who really are pushing hard for trans joys because we don't have enough of it. And I think that's where I'm a little bit with the holiday movies where I'm like, yeah, we don't have enough because we have none.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, I know you've brought that up too, where there might be indie films or short films that were missing.
Right.
So again, like, let us know. But then we swing to like mainstream. I'm like, why is it like we're the last letter? I feel like in the mainstream LGBT. Like, if we end it that way, like, there's so many other letters who have no representation either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's something where And again, people need to like create from their own experience. Like I wouldn't advocate for someone to go write like a happy, joyful holiday movie if that's not their real experience with it. But I think people forget that Christmas movies are fantasies. Like it's a fantasy genre. Like I was talking to someone recently about rom-coms, and she was saying like rom-coms
Mm-hmm.
are fantasies. I would love to see just a trans fantasy of like a great holiday, which, and again, like we talked about in the Trans Joy episode, there's tons of conflict, right? I mean, most
Mm-hmm.
of the time, like the people have lost a
Mm-hmm.
parent, in the movie, this is the first one
Mm-hmm.
without them, or something like bad is happening at the elf workshop. I don't know what these plots are. Like Santa's passed and has to pass the torch on there. So that's not to say that they're like constantly joy, 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 but there just doesn't seem to be any trans movie, let alone a trans masc one, that is a feature film that is a traditional holiday movie, which honestly would be so funny because for people who might have picked up on like we record these in advance, can you imagine that like the week we release it, they're like Hallmark's first trans masculine rep, and we just were like, there's nothing out there. I mean, it would be a good thing, but we don't have to like.
Hey, well, I mean,
I know, like a
that's true. We'd have to make a disclaimer. In this
yeah.
episode, we trash mainstream media. No, I'm just kidding. We're not trashing anybody. We're just having some, insightful conversations and yeah, but go ahead.
Because ultimately it ties back into money where people are worried that audiences won't show up.
Of course, and then there's no money to be made. It's a money-making industry, right? But I agree with you. I just want to see too, like you were saying, like the rom com. That would be awesome. Absolutely, like that, or like a family, like having like a
Mhm.
trans dad and like
Yeah.
another parent. Who knows? Maybe we can make it a little like trans dad and mom and the kids.
Everyone's
Every-
trans. Even the cat. The cat acts like a dog. It's like a trans cat.
you know but and it doesn't have to be about that, but it's like what adventure happens, right? What
Yeah.
happens that where comedy ensues and like the shenanigans, right? But yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something where you bring up comedy and shenanigans. I think there are ways where I think being trans can like add to a plot without being trans trauma. It could be
Mm-hmm.
something as simple as like they're running late, dad really has to pee, and dad can't just go in the bush. Dad has to, because dad hasn't had bottom surgery.
Right, it could be totally that, absolutely. Or like
Yeah.
being having to pull over to a gas station and being like waiting in the men's line if they're passing fully,
Hmm.
not
Yeah. And
yeah,
because
yeah,
I deal with that all the time where I'm like, why there's like one stall or the door's broken. And
right.
I'm like, well, now I have to wait here for an extra 15 minutes.
Sometimes I just yes, go ahead, go
I
ahead.
was going to say because someone's having an experience in the one stall.
Correct. That's a real thing, right? Though if you are going into a what's labeled as the men's restroom, there's may not be as many toilets and stalls, which is so funny. It's like still an issue of like waiting in what's labeled as the women's restroom where there's just always a line. But but those moments like that, so authentic, but we can laugh about it.
And I think too that can apply to different aspects of the hardships around the holidays too, because we don't have to have a Christmas movie that's grounded in capitalism, right? The joy at the end doesn't have to be the big tree with all the presents around it. And because there's just so many different ways that people can celebrate the holidays or do celebrate the holidays, whether it's a menorah or a Christmas tree or the winter solstice, which we call Yalda in Persian culture, there's so many opportunities, I think, to create more authentic and diverse holiday stories without every single one having to be the same exact thing that we see. And, it ties back to what Mars had been saying that these kids grow up believing or seeing, well, this is how my holiday should be, when there is no right way to have a holiday season. And having that representation. And of course, because of our podcast, we're focusing on trans masc rep, but that could be from people from different economic and religious backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, etc. But this was fun, doing like a different little setup for the holiday special.
Yes, we really created a new format.
Yeah, which we'll do once a year.
And check. But yeah, this was really wonderful. I know I'm feeling very joyful. There's a lot of joy in my heart and there's a smile on my face right now. But just again, like, I hope wherever you are and whoever you are, you can have some light this holiday season.
And if you're in the holiday spirit, you can find Transanta at Transanta on Instagram and transanta.com to help bring that same joy to a trans youth. And however you celebrate the holiday season, happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Bye. Next time on In Full View, we're joined by AJ Mattioli, a powerhouse indie producer whose work has shaped queer and trans film for more than a decade. We get into the realities of indie filmmaking, distribution options for queer filmmakers of all sizes, and the future of LGBTQ+ storytelling in a shifting industry. Make sure you're subscribed to In Full View wherever you get your podcasts. And if you liked this episode, please rate and review us. See you next time.